This is mainly to improve. What we're trying to do is take a good corn head and turn it into a better corn head. So this is the John Deere, whether it be the 40 series or the 90 series head. And a lot of people talked about that big pile of fluff was a problem. And I found the same thing when I was testing heads in the late 90s. I could build a big pile of dry fluff here in the afternoon, and this head wouldn't do it. And as we got to checking it, you could tell that this one was running a different speed ratio. So the first thing that we did was just make a small sprocket to slow down the gathering chain speed. And I'll turn it on here so that you can see it. This is the factory 8-tooth sprocket that come on Deere corn heads. And what we decided to do to go to a 6-tooth, which is a 25% reduction in gathering chain speed. And you can see this gathering chain runs slower than what this gathering chain is. If you take and you look at the brochure that we have, you can see the test data, but we split the corn head right down the middle. This side was running OEM equipment. This side had the smaller sprockets on it. And during a dry afternoon, we were getting an average of 60% less trash coming to the combine simply because we had gone to the smaller gathering chain sprocket. It is huge that we made a small change and got a huge improvement in that corn head. So we sell a bunch of these nowadays, the little 6-toothers. Years ago we used to have to shorten the chain. And then I said, well, if we go to a bigger idler sprocket, then we can still run the same factory chains. So that's what we've done. We go from the 8 down to a 6 to drive it, but we've gone from an 8 on the idler side to a 9-tooth at the bottom. And that allows us to use the same gathering chain that's been used on corn heads for years, the standard 48 rollers. So you don't need to buy brand new chains to put these sprockets on, but it's a smaller one here and a bigger one down here. And this is our 5th or 6th year of selling this, and we're just having great results, great feedback. And a lot of people that were unhappy with their Deere heads are now calling us back saying, you know what, we just don't have any reason to trade. And I've had some guys that yeah, and we've got a lot of guys that have bought newer 600 series heads and said, you know what, we're going to go get your kit and put it on a 90 series head or something. So we're doing really well on improving it. It's just a shame that I didn't do this like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but like I said, we don't, all of these things don't jump into your head on the same day. So that was one of the #1 things. We were able to get rid of that big pile of fluff. The second thing that we noticed between these two heads was the difference in the stalk chop. And this, believe it or not, is corn stalks behind a 40 or 90 series head, and these are the corn stalks behind this corn head. And I couldn't figure out why was it that this one wouldn't chop the stalks. And then it dawned on me, and if you look in our brochures or any of our websites or whatever, that Deere runs 6 flutes that intermesh with 6 flutes. And when you spin those at 850 to 950 RPMs a minute, it's just a solid wall of rotating steel, and that corn stalk just can't get in between it. So these are factory rolls here. I think they got 1,000, 2,000 acres on them. And we've used this little chunk of cardboard to simulate a corn stalk. And those of you that aren't from Illinois, this is what we call a BT corn stalk here in Illinois. Pretty rigid sucker. It doesn't yield very good though, but sure does stand well. So anyway, we've got that in there. And you can see that the gathering chain lug keeps trying to shove it into those stalk rolls. And it just won't go. You can see every time the lug goes by, it pushes on that stalk, and it's trying to shove it into those rollers. And if you look underneath, you can see it's bending the stalk, and it won't go in. And this is what I talked about a little bit earlier. This becomes a corn plucker instead of a corn picker. And as you're going forward, being that won't go into the rollers, it'll just lean it forward, and it's that bulldozing effect that we talk about. Or you come to the end of the field, and it takes the last 5 plants and just drives them right to the ground. And that's because these 6 flutes are intermeshed with 6 flutes, and it won't let it come in. So what we've done on this side is we put the revolving window in. And I had to connect it to the root ball down underneath there. And so anyway, on this side, we've got multiple knives, and they're going to rotate, and then all of a sudden, we've got a couple of blanks. And the two blanks are going to show up at the same time. The window opens, the handoff from the spiral to the fluted chamber takes place. This cornstalk is going to walk right in between the flutes, and then the rest of the flutes are going to grab it, crush it, and pull it on down. So keep your eye on this stalk. And like I said in the other room, what I'm looking for is something that looks like an accordion when it's all done and it's crushed and it's on the ground and it's opened up. I've lacerated it here. The microbes, the earthworms, the bacteria can get in here and decompose it. And that's a huge difference between this and this when it comes time to decompose the plant material. So, basically 3 steps. One to slow down the gathering chain. The second one is to change the stalk rolls over so that we can chew up the plant. The third one is to switch out the stripper plates. And these are straight plates, these are beveled, and when the ear comes down, it's got a nice cradle area so that we can displace that energy so that we get less butt shelling. We're going to have less husk, we're going to have less leaves. These stripper plates, the testing that I did at my farm, I believe reduced the trash intake by another 33%. And the way that I do this is I split these corn heads right down the middle, got 8 rows of one design, 8 rows of another design, and I'm able to see it right from the windshield, you know, that this side's working better than this side. And then we do a kill stop, and then we bag all the trash here, bag all the trash here, and weigh it, and that's how I can tell you 33% or 60%.